Over the following weeks, Isabella stepped fully into her new journey. The leap from waitress to corporate employee felt overwhelming at first, but William's company proved to be a welcoming place. Her co-workers were supportive, and her mentor, Julie, took her under her wing from day one. Julie was patient, wise, and always ready to answer questions, no matter how small. Initially, Isabella wrestled with the challenges of adapting. The corporate environment was nothing like the cafe. There were complex hierarchies, financial reports to analyze, and strategic planning sessions to follow. Yet with each day, Isabella grew more confident. She absorbed knowledge eagerly, applying her background in economics and impressing her peers with her insight. In the meantime, William watched her progress closely. He saw her thriving, and it reassured him that he'd made the right choice. Isabella was no longer just the brave young woman who had warned him of Daniel's betrayal. She was becoming an invaluable asset to the company. Behind the scenes, William's legal team continued to untangle the remnants of Daniel's deception. The company's funds were secure and Daniel's offshore accounts had been frozen, but there remained a lot to resolve. William knew it would be a long, exhausting process. However, with Isabella's support, he felt more prepared for the journey ahead. One evening, after a long day, Isabella stayed late to work on a project for Julie. The office was quiet, with most of the team having left. As she sat reviewing financial reports, a sense of fulfillment settled over her. She was exactly where she was meant to be. Just as she was packing up, William walked by, surprised to see her still at her desk. "Isabella, you're still here?" he asked, amusement evident in his tone. Looking up, she smiled. "Just finishing up some work for Julie." William chuckled. "You don't have to stay this late every night, you know." She shrugged, her smile widening. "I don't mind. I actually enjoy it." He leaned against the doorframe, observing her for a moment. "You're doing an exceptional job, Isabella. I hope you know that." A flush of pride warmed her cheeks. "Thank you, Mr. Parker. That means a lot coming from you." He nodded, standing up straight. "Just don't forget to take time for yourself, too." She smiled and nodded as he walked away, watching him go with a deep sense of gratitude. William had given her this chance and believed in her when no one else had. Gathering her things, Isabella felt a surge of excitement. This was only the beginning, and for the first time in years, she felt certain that she could achieve anything she set her mind to. In the weeks that followed, Isabella Hayes found her rhythm at the company. She arrived early each day, eager to take on new challenges, and stayed late, driven by an insatiable desire to grow. The opportunity William Parker had offered her was a once-in-a-lifetime chance, and she was determined to make the most of it. Nothing would stand in her way. As days turned into weeks, Isabella's impact on the team grew more evident. Her mentor, Julie, guided her through the nuances of corporate finance and operations, helping her grasp the complexity of her role. Under Julie's mentorship, Isabella quickly became adept at dissecting financial reports, pinpointing issues and proposing innovative solutions others hadn't considered. Her unique perspective and natural acumen set her apart. "You're truly talented, Isabella," Julie remarked one afternoon as they reviewed a complex financial forecast. "It's as if you've been doing this for years." Isabella felt a swell of pride at the acknowledgement. "I suppose I'm just motivated to prove myself," she replied with a smile. Julie shook her head reassuringly. "You don't need to prove a thing. You've already shown you belong here. The work you've done is exceptional." Julie's encouragement struck a chord. Isabella had spent years feeling like she was lagging behind. Now, for the first time, she felt she was on equal ground, capable of achieving anything she set her mind to. Although corporate life was worlds apart from her days as a waitress, Isabella had found her stride. Her background in economics gave her a unique vantage point, and her ideas regularly brought fresh insights to the team. William, too, began to lean on her insights, seeking her perspective during strategy sessions and genuinely valuing her input. One day, William asked her to join him in his office for a private conversation. Entering his office, Isabella felt a mix of excitement and nerves. Although they had developed a comfortable rapport, she still held a sense of reverence for him, the man who had not only given her a second chance but entrusted her with such responsibility. "Isabella," William began, leaning back in his chair and motioning for her to sit, "I've been reviewing your work over the past few weeks, and I must say, I'm impressed." Isabella's heart raced. "Thank you, Mr. Parker. I've been doing my best." He smiled warmly. "You've done more than that. Your perspective and ability to spot issues before they escalate have saved us more than once. You have a genuine gift for this." She felt a surge of gratitude. That truly means a lot coming from you. William's smile grew. I'm glad to hear that. I've been considering ways to expand your role. You've shown you're more than capable, and I'd like to see you take on a leadership position. Isabella blinked, taken aback. A leadership position? William nodded. Yes. I want you to lead a new project we're launching, expanding into a new market. You'll work directly with me, crafting the strategy, managing financials, and overseeing the rollout. It's a significant role, but I believe you're ready for it. Isabella's mind raced. This leadership role was far more than she had anticipated, especially so soon. The opportunity was both exhilarating and intimidating. I don't know what to say, she stammered, struggling to process it all. William leaned forward, his expression resolute yet encouraging. I wouldn't be offering this if I had any doubts. You've earned it, Isabella. You have the vision, the skills, and the dedication to make this project a success. After a pause, as she absorbed the magnitude of the opportunity, Isabella looked up and saw the faith in William's eyes. His confidence in her lit a fire within, allowing her to push past her doubts. I'd be honored to take on the project, she said, her voice brimming with determination. I won't let you down. William's satisfied smile said it all. I know you won't. We'll start planning next week. For now, take the weekend to rest. You've earned it. Isabella nodded, still processing everything as she left his office. This chance to lead a major project was a leap she hadn't anticipated, but she felt ready to meet the challenge head-on. In the days that followed, Isabella dove into preparations for the new project. She collaborated closely with William and Julie, gathering data, studying market trends, and mapping out a comprehensive strategy. This project was ambitious, a push into international markets with the potential to drastically boost revenue, albeit with a slew of challenges. It didn't take long for Isabella to realize the scope of her task. From regulatory complexities to cultural differences and financial risks, every detail demanded her attention. But rather than feeling daunted, she felt invigorated. Each new hurdle spurred her forward, fueling her resolve. As the project advanced, Isabella began to understand the broader workings of the company on a global level. She was learning more than she had ever imagined, and with William's mentorship, she grew increasingly assured in her decisions. Their bond strengthened as they navigated the project's intricacies, fostering a mutual respect and trust. One evening, after a long day of meetings, William pulled Isabella aside. They stood by the tall office windows, the setting sun casting warm hues across the city North Star skyline. I wanted to say something, Isabella, William began, his tone uncharacteristically earnest. Isabella looked up, curious. What is it? He hesitated for a moment, as if carefully choosing his words. I've been reflecting on these past months, all we've endured, from Daniel's betrayal to the work we've done to protect the company, to this new project. I couldn't have managed any of it without you. Isabella was taken aback. I'm just doing my part, Mr. Parker. William shook his head gently. No, you've done far more than that. You've shown you're not just any employee, you're a leader. I want you to know how deeply I value your contribution. A surge of emotion filled Isabella. She had never envisioned herself standing here side by side with William, helping to shape the company's future. It was more than she had ever dared to dream. Thank you, she said quietly, her voice thick with gratitude. That means a lot to me. William's smile was warm, his eyes full of appreciation. You've earned every bit of recognition, and I look forward to seeing what we achieve together. Isabella nodded, absorbing the weight of his words. She understood that there were still challenges ahead, but for the first time in a long while, she felt truly equipped to face them. Together they turned to watch the sunset, aware that a new, promising chapter was just beginning. In the days following William Parker's visit to Isabella Hayes's home, the expansion project under her leadership took off faster than anyone had anticipated. With William's guidance, the company was making impressive progress toward entering international markets. Challenges arose each day, but Isabella welcomed them, buoyed by the confidence she'd built and the support of her team. But just as William and Isabella felt the momentum of their hard-earned success, an unwelcome disruption emerged: Daniel. Since their last bitter encounter, William hadn't heard from Daniel, assuming his former friend had left town quietly. While the legal battles continued, William had almost put him out of his mind. That was until one morning he arrived at his office to find a somber security officer waiting by his door. Mr. Parker, I think you'll want to see this, the officer said, handing William a sealed envelope. William's brow furrowed as he took the envelope, his name printed in stark letters across the front. Inside, he felt the weight of something small and metallic, a USB drive. He slid it into his palm, his pulse quickening. "Where did this come from?" William asked. "It was dropped at the front desk this morning," the officer explained. "No return address, just your name." William's mind began to race. It had been months since Daniel's betrayal. While his legal team managed the frozen accounts and other fallout, William had moved on. But as he held the USB drive, he couldn't ignore the creeping feeling that this was Daniel's doing. "Thank you," William said quietly, dismissing the officer. He quickly made his way into his office, his thoughts tangled. Closing the door behind him, William sat at his desk, his gaze fixed on the drive. Should he open it or contact Liam, his investigator, first? After a moment's hesitation, he decided to see for himself. He plugged the drive into his computer, watching as a single video file appeared. Heart pounding, he clicked on it. The screen flickered to life, displaying a grainy video of Daniel seated in a nondescript hotel room. Wearing a smug expression, he leaned back and addressed the camera directly. "William," Daniel's voice oozed disdain. "By now, you're probably thinking you've won. You froze my accounts, cut me off from the company, and ruined everything I built. But here's the thing, you didn't destroy me. Not even close." William's jaw tightened as anger surged through him. "I've still got moves to make," Daniel continued, his smirk widening. "And I've been busy since our little fallout. You think you can just walk away clean? I don't think so. I've gathered information enough to ruin you, your precious company, and everything you've worked for. You might have blindsided me once, but now I'm ready." William's fists clenched as Daniel's words hit home. What information could Daniel possibly have? Could it be true? Or was this another one of his twisted games? Daniel leaned closer to the camera, his face darkening. "I've made connections, William, powerful ones. And I'm not just talking about business. You should check the headlines soon. When the media gets hold of what I have, your so-called reputation will be in shambles." The video cut off, leaving William staring at the screen in shock. His thoughts spun. What could Daniel have on him? William had always been meticulous, keeping his dealings above board. But Daniel was shrewd. If he'd found anything remotely damaging, even if it was fabricated, the consequences could be devastating. William sank back in his chair, his breathing heavy as the reality settled. Daniel had returned, and he wasn't playing fair. This wasn't just a legal battle anymore. Daniel was out to wreck William's reputation through the media, a new kind of warfare that threatened everything William had worked so hard to build. Not wasting another second, William grabbed his phone and dialed Liam. "Liam, it's William. We have a serious problem," he said, his voice taut with urgency. "What's going on?" Liam replied, immediately attuned to William's tone. "It's Daniel. He just sent me a video threatening to go public with something potentially damaging. Says he's gathered information on me and plans to leak it." Liam was silent for a beat. Then his voice returned, calm and focused. "All right, let's approach this carefully. First, send me the video. I'll have my team analyze it and see if there's any way to trace where it was filmed. We need to locate him and get a sense of his intentions." William nodded, even though Liam couldn't see him. "I'll send it over right away." "Good. And don't engage with him directly. He's baiting you, hoping you'll react. The more composed and strategic we stay, the better our chances of stopping him before he does real damage." William hung up, immediately forwarding the video to Liam. He leaned back in his chair, trying to steady his breathing. Daniel was dangerous, and now, more than ever, William had to stay a step ahead. But this was more than a business dispute. Daniel was out for vengeance, and he wouldn't stop until William was brought down. As the hours passed, William worked closely with his legal team and Liam's investigators to prepare for anything Daniel might attempt. Despite their efforts, they couldn't predict his next move. The uncertainty gnawed at William, making it impossible to focus on much else. Later that evening, as William sat alone in his office, Isabella knocked softly on the door. "William," she asked, stepping inside when he waved her in. "I heard something's going on. Are you okay?" William sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's Daniel. He's back, and he's threatening to go public with something. I don't know what he has, but it could be bad." Isabella's face fell, her concern evident. "I thought he was gone for good." "So did I," William replied, his voice tense. "But I misjudged him." Isabella took a seat across from him, her eyes searching his face. "Is there anything I can do to help?" William looked at her, gratitude filling his gaze. She had stood by him through everything, and now, more than ever, he needed allies he could trust. "Just keep doing what you're doing," he said. "I'm handling it, but I may need your support if this escalates." Isabella nodded, her expression resolute. "You can count on me, William. Whatever comes, we'll face it together." William gave her a grateful smile. "Thank you, Isabella. That means a lot." As Isabella left his office, William turned his gaze out to the city North Star's twinkling lights in the dark. Daniel might have returned with a vengeance, but William wouldn't let him win, not this time. He was prepared for whatever battle lay ahead. In the tense days that followed Daniel's threat, William Parker found little rest, his mind endlessly looping through what Daniel might be planning. Each morning he scanned the headlines, bracing himself for a scandal that never came. Daniel seemed to be playing a cruel waiting game, letting William's anxiety simmer with each passing day. Liam and his investigative team worked relentlessly, managing to trace the video to a modest, unremarkable hotel on the city's outskirts. But by the time they arrived, Daniel had already checked out. "He's being cautious," Liam said during one of their frequent calls. "He's moving around constantly. He knows we're trying to find him." As the days dragged on, William's frustration grew. Daniel was nowhere to be found, yet his threat lingered like a dark cloud over everything. Even at the office, the usual pace of work felt overshadowed. Isabella, ever calm and composed, kept operations running smoothly, but she couldn't ignore the strain visible on William's face. One evening, while William sat alone, reviewing countless reports from Liam's team, his phone buzzed. Liam's voice, steady but edged with relief, came through. "We've got something," he announced. "Daniel made a mistake." William sat up, his pulse quickening. "What do you mean?" "One of our people intercepted a message Daniel sent to a media contact. He's trying to sell them a story about you, but it's all lies. He's weaving a narrative out of half-truths, trying to get something printed before anyone can verify his claims." William felt a mixture of anger and relief. So, Daniel's supposed evidence was nothing but fabrication, a calculated attempt to smear his reputation. "What's he trying to claim?" William asked, dreading the answer. "He's alleging financial misconduct," Liam replied, "saying you're involved in illegal dealings with foreign companies and that you're hiding profits offshore. It's baseless, but he's trying to make it sound believable." William let out a slow breath, feeling a weight lift, even if just slightly. "Can we stop him?" "We're already taking action," Liam assured him. "I've reached out to the media outlets he's contacted. We're getting ahead of this with our own story, backed by concrete evidence. Once we reveal the truth, his betrayal, the stolen funds, the offshore accounts he set up, it'll dismantle anything he's tried to build against you." William felt a glimmer of hope. "And what about Daniel? Can we prevent him from trying this again?" "That's the other part of the good news," Liam said, his voice more resolute. "We've gathered enough evidence to take legal action," Liam continued. "With the frozen accounts, financial records, and now his attempted smear campaign, we've got a solid case. Your legal team is ready to proceed. Daniel's out of options." William leaned back in his chair, feeling a sense of relief he hadn't felt in days. "So this is it. We can finally end this." Liam's tone was unwavering. "Yes, we're shutting him down, both legally and publicly." As the call ended, William sat in silence, letting the relief wash over him. Daniel had come at him with everything he had, but in the end, his web of lies had unraveled. William had weathered the storm, and now it was Daniel's turn to face the consequences. That evening, William met with his legal team to finalize their strategy. They were preparing to file a lawsuit against Daniel for defamation, fraud, and breach of fiduciary duty. It was the final blow to Daniel's schemes. He could no longer hide behind his deceit. With the legal proceedings underway, William felt a renewed sense of purpose. This wasn't just about protecting himself anymore. It was about holding someone accountable who had betrayed him in the worst way. Daniel had tried to ruin him, but William wasn't about to let him walk away unscathed. The next morning, the news broke. William's legal team had issued a statement detailing Daniel's actions, the financial misconduct, the theft, the attempted framing. Media outlets picked up the story, and within hours, Daniel's name was emblazoned across headlines as the orchestrator of a corporate scandal. From his office, William watched the news unfold, feeling a vindication he hadn't dared to hope for. Daniel had tried to drag his reputation through the mud, but now the truth was out, and it was Daniel who would pay the price. A gentle knock on the door brought him back to the present. Isabella stepped inside, her face a mixture of relief and concern. "I saw the news," she said softly. It looks like everything's finally coming to light. William nodded, his gaze fixed on the screen. It's over, or at least, the worst of it. Daniel's going to face the consequences. Isabella stepped closer, standing beside his desk. You've been through so much these last few months. I'm just grateful you came out on top. William looked up at her, deeply appreciative of her steady support. I couldn't have done this without you, Isabella. You've been there for me through everything. Isabella smiled, her expression softening. I'm just glad I could be of help. They stood in quiet solidarity for a moment, the weight of the past few months finally starting to lift. Daniel's threats had been dismantled, and William could finally begin to look forward. But as he gazed at Isabella, he realized that the future held more than just business endeavors. The days following Isabella Hayes' promotion were a whirlwind of new challenges and excitement. Each morning she arrived early, ready to dive into her expanded role. With each day, she grew more confident in her leadership, taking on responsibilities that only a short time ago would have seemed unimaginable. Under William Parker's guidance, she was charting a path in a world she had once viewed from afar. Her contributions quickly caught the attention of her colleagues. With a sharp mind for details and a fresh perspective on the company's strategies, Isabella was transforming her team's approach. Julie, her mentor, guided her through the intricacies of corporate finance and international business, showing her how to anticipate potential pitfalls and navigate the complexities of global operations. Her ideas and insights brought a renewed energy to every discussion. One afternoon, after wrapping up a complex budget review, Julie looked at Isabella with admiration. You're a natural at this, she remarked, her tone warm and encouraging. It's as if you've been part of this world for years. Isabella blushed, feeling a deep sense of pride. I suppose I'm just driven to prove myself, she replied softly. Julie placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. You don't need to prove a thing. You've already shown you belong here. For Isabella, hearing these words meant everything. For so long she had wrestled with self-doubt. But now, standing on equal footing with her peers, she finally felt capable of reaching any goal she set her sights on. One day, William called her into his office. Despite the familiarity they'd developed, she felt a flutter of nerves. After all, this was the man who had not only offered her a second chance but had placed immense trust in her abilities. Isabella, he began, gesturing for her to sit, his expression thoughtful. I've been looking at your work over the past few weeks, and I have to say, I'm impressed. Her heart pounded as he spoke. Thank you, Mr. Parker. I've been trying to give my best. William's smile was warm, full of genuine appreciation. You've given more than your best. Your insights and your ability to identify and address problems have saved us more than once. You have a rare talent, Isabella. The gratitude in her response was unmistakable. Hearing that from you means a lot. William's expression turned serious, but his eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. I've been thinking about how we can expand your role here. You've demonstrated a natural aptitude for leadership, and I'd like to see you take on a more permanent position in our senior management team. Her heart raced at his words. A leadership role? She asked, nearly breathless. Yes, William confirmed. I'd like you to lead our new international expansion project. You'll be developing strategies, analyzing financial projections, and overseeing implementation directly with me. I believe you're ready for this. Isabella's mind raced, her excitement tempered by the enormity of the role he was offering. I'm honored, but are you certain I'm prepared? William leaned forward, his voice filled with conviction. I wouldn't offer this to you if I had any doubt. You've earned it. She looked into his eyes, finding a faith in her that strengthened her own resolve. I'd be honored to lead this project, Mr. Parker. I won't let you down. He smiled, reassured by her determination. I know you won't. Let's start planning next week. For now, take the weekend and recharge. You've earned it. As she left his office, Isabella's head was buzzing with excitement. A leadership position, something she had never dared to dream of, was now her reality. The following days were intense as Isabella dove into her preparations. Working closely with William and Julie, she examined market trends, studied financial reports, and crafted strategies to ensure the company's smooth transition into a new market. She learned how to anticipate challenges, from legal nuances to cultural considerations, that could impact the company's reach. Every new obstacle energized her, reaffirming her belief that she was exactly where she was meant to be. One evening, after a long day of planning meetings, William pulled her aside. They stood by the grand windows, watching the sun set over the city North Star skyline, casting a warm glow over the office. There's something I wanted to tell you, Isabella, he said, his voice reflective. She turned to him. Curious. What is it? William took a moment, as if choosing his words carefully. These past months, from Daniel's betrayal to launching this expansion, have been some of the most challenging of my career, and I couldn't have done any of it without you. Isabella blinked, moved by the sincerity in his voice. I'm just doing my part, Mr. Parker. He shook his head. No, you're doing far more than that. You're not just another employee, you're a leader, and I want you to know how much I appreciate that. A swell of emotion filled her. She had never imagined, back when she first warned William of Daniel's betrayal, that she would find herself here working side by side with him to shape the company's future. Thank you, she whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. William smiled, his eyes conveying a depth of appreciation. You've earned everything that's come your way, and I'm excited to see where we can go from here. They stood together, looking out at the city below, both feeling the promise of a new chapter. The storm had passed, and the future stretched out before them, filled with possibility. In the years that followed, William Parker and Isabella Hayes worked side by side, overcoming challenges, expanding the company, and building a legacy that went far beyond what either of them could have imagined. They had become more than just colleagues or business partners, they were a team in every sense of the word. Isabella's insights and innovation drove the company to unprecedented success, while William's unwavering support and guidance allowed her to thrive in her role. As their professional relationship deepened, so did their personal connection. They shared late nights in the office, quiet dinners after long days, and moments of unspoken understanding that only grew stronger with time. William found himself looking forward to the moments they spent together, both in and out of the boardroom, and he sensed that Isabella felt the same way. One evening, as they sat together in his office, William looked at Isabella with a newfound clarity. He realized that his life had been transformed, not just by her contributions to the company, but by her very presence. He couldn't imagine his days or his future without her. William knew he had to make a decision that went beyond the company, beyond the boardroom, and beyond the ordinary. He wanted Isabella to be by his side forever, not just as a colleague or a friend, but as his partner in life. A week later, William prepared for what would be one of the most memorable moments of his life. He had planned everything down to the last detail, ensuring that the proposal would be as extraordinary as the woman he was proposing to. He reserved the grandest square in the city for an evening event, inviting close friends, family, and the senior members of the company to witness the occasion. As the sun set over the city, casting a warm glow over the square, William waited for Isabella to arrive, his heart pounding with anticipation. He wore a classic black tuxedo, and in his pocket, a velvet box held a ring that he had chosen with care, a timeless piece that, like their relationship, symbolized strength, commitment, and elegance. Isabella arrived shortly after, looking breathtaking in a soft blue dress that flowed gracefully with each step. She spotted William standing at the center of the square and made her way toward him, a look of curiosity and excitement in her eyes. William, what's all this? She asked, her voice tinged with both wonder and amusement. William took a deep breath, steadying himself. Isabella, he began, reaching for her hand and holding it gently. I brought you here tonight because I have something important to say. Something that I've known in my heart for a long time. Isabella's eyes softened, and she looked up at him with complete attention, sensing the gravity of the moment. From the day you walked into my office, warning me about Daniel, you changed my life, he continued, his voice trembling slightly. At first, you were just a brave young woman who had saved me from a terrible mistake, but over the years you became so much more than that. You became my partner, my confidant, my inspiration. Isabella felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes as she listened, her heart swelling with emotion. Isabella, William said, his voice filled with sincerity, you've shown me a different kind of success. A success that's not just about numbers or business achievements, but about having someone by your side who makes every moment meaningful. You've brought more to my life than I could have ever dreamed. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the velvet box, opening it to reveal the stunning ring inside. Isabella gasped softly, her hand covering her mouth as she realized what was happening. Tonight I want to give you something that represents my commitment not only to you, but to everything we've built together, William said, his voice filled with emotion. I want you to be more than my partner in business. I want you to be my partner in life. He took a deep breath, his eyes never leaving hers. Isabella Hayes, will you marry me? Isabella's heart was pounding so hard she could barely hear anything but the sound of her own breath. She looked into William's eyes, seeing the depth of his love and sincerity shining through. A tear slipped down her cheek, and she nodded, her voice choked with emotion. "Yes," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Yes, William, I'll marry you." The square erupted in applause, and William slipped the ring onto her finger, pulling her into his arms as they shared their first kiss as an engaged couple. Isabella held onto him tightly, feeling a sense of completeness and joy that she had never known before. But William wasn't finished. He took a step back, reaching into his pocket once more and pulling out a second box. This one was larger, and as he opened it, Isabella saw a set of gold keys resting inside. "These," he said, handing the keys to her, "are the keys to my office and the company itself. I want you to lead the company as the next chairperson, Isabella. You have the vision, the intelligence, and the integrity to take it to places I never could on my own. Just like Iron Man passing his legacy, I'm passing this to you." Isabella stared at him, speechless. "William, I don't know what to say. This is beyond anything I ever imagined." William took her hands in his, smiling softly. "You've earned this, Isabella. You've made me believe in a future I couldn't have envisioned without you. I trust you with everything I have." Isabella's eyes filled with fresh tears. "Thank you, William. I promise I'll make you proud, both as your partner in life and as your successor at the company." They embraced once more, surrounded by the applause and cheers of their loved ones and colleagues. It was a moment of pure joy, a celebration not only of their love but of the incredible journey that had brought them to this point. The evening continued with a celebration that stretched long into the night, with laughter, dancing, and toasts to the future. William and Isabella, side by side, accepted the congratulations of friends and family, basking in the glow of their new beginning. From that day forward, William and Isabella faced the world together, building not only a thriving company but a life filled with love, respect, and mutual support. And as they looked out over the city North Star skyline from their home, they knew that their journey was only just beginning together, forever.